Hey, how's it going, YouTube? I'm back in the video, and today I'm going to be talking about the losers and the winners of the 2021 NBA draft. Now, last year I did a very similar video, and I was able to get the Detroit Pistons right, I got the Sacramento Kings right, and then a few other teams I didn't really get right, but also didn't get wrong, because Devin Vassell was injured for a good part of the year, and also Killian Hayes was hurt, but then I also said Detroit won because they got Saddiq Bey and Isaiah Stewart, so I was pretty right on that too. So last year I was fairly accurate on who I thought won and who I thought lost. For example, one of the losers was also Denny Avdija in the Wizards, and he did not have the best rookie year, and I thought he'd be a bust, and I was pretty right on that. So I do think for sure I have a fairly decent grasp on how certain prospects will pan out. Now, obviously, I'm not going to be right on every single one because it's projecting futures, which no one can tell you what the future is going to be guaranteed. There's always going to be an anomaly, and there's always going to be one of those players or a few of those players that you just get wrong, and that could go either you think they're going to be really good and they just won't turn out good, or they can go really bad and you think they're going to be bad and then they end up being very good. So you just really never know, and there's always a few players like that. So don't take what I'm saying as fact. I'm just giving my opinion on who I personally think had the best drafts and who I personally think had the worst drafts. So I'm going to get into all that in this video. And if you like the video at any point, hit the like button and subscribe button. That'd mean the absolute world to me. And without further ado, without rambling on too much, let's get right into this video. Alright, so first I'm going to get into the winners of the draft in my opinion. And to me, there is a good bit of winners actually in this draft class. The first winner I have is being the Charlotte Hornets, who, although I'm not a huge fan on book night, like I didn't like him coming out of the draft. In my opinion, he's more of a athletic type guy. Everybody calls him a shooter, but I think he shot like 29% from three. Now, yes, his shot looks fine and it's mechanically correct, but if your confidence isn't there and you're not hitting consistently in college, it's hard for me to say that now you're going to go to the NBA and start hitting more consistently. I just don't see it happening. And yes, book night could develop into a solid scorer, but I don't see him being anything like a starter level player at max. I never see him being a star or anything like that. He has good athleticism, decent defense, needs to improve his shooting, and that's kind of what he's in the league for, is shooting. So a shooter that can't really shoot consistently, in my opinion, not the best pick, but still book night has good upside. He can develop into a solid player. But the guy that I'm really hyped that they got is Kai Jones. They got Kai Jones fairly late in the first round, and in my opinion, I don't think he'll be a star or anything right off the rip, but I do think Kai Jones has the potential to develop into a very nice and interesting prospect, as I mean, he is very athletic, extremely long, can dribble the ball, very strong, can grab boards, and I think in his first few years he's going to be able to provide a solid rebounder and kind of score at that big man position. But I think as his career develops and he gets even better at spacing the floor than he already is, because he has shown some promise when it comes to outside shooting from a big man, which you can never get enough of. If your big man can shoot, plus he's athletic, plus he can kind of dribble and all that, that could be extremely valuable for any team, and Kai Jones could provide exactly that. Now, he just has to develop his skills a little bit more, but Kai Jones definitely has a chance to be an extremely good starter in the NBA one day once he is fully developed. And I think even in his first few years when he's still developing, he'll still be a very solid big man that can occasionally spread the floor and can occasionally get you around 10-12 points a game. So I think for sure if book night can develop and proves me wrong, then they had by far one of the best drafts, because they just got LaMelo Ball, another backcourt partner, plus they got him a new athletic big man to throw lobs to and space the floor even more for LaMelo, which you can just not ask for enough. And I think for sure the Hornets gotten better with this NBA draft. Now, my second winner is going to be the Indiana Pacers, and that's because I think they got two very solid players, as they got Chris Duarte. I know I butchered his name, I just don't know how to pronounce it yet, but they got him, and he's an extremely good 3-and-D player. And outside of really the top four or the top three guards slash small forwards, which is Cade Cunningham, Jalen Green, and Jalen Suggs, I think for sure he's one of the better 3-and-D prospects in the entire draft, as he is an elite three-point shooter who can also play defense and has a little bit of athleticism to him. So I think he still has some upside, but I think he's going to be able to come into the league right away and play that small forward position, and probably will start for them in day one, because right now I'm pretty sure their starter is Justin Holiday, and I see him being better than Justin Holiday from day one. And then another very good player they got was Isaiah Jackson. Now, Isaiah Jackson is kind of like the Isaiah Stewart for me last draft. I said Isaiah Stewart is going to come in, be very solid, very strong, grab rebounds, get you around 10 points, and that is exactly what Isaiah Stewart did for the Pistons last year, and I see Isaiah Jackson doing the exact same thing for the Indiana Pacers this season. So I think for sure Indiana got two very good solid players that will immediately come in and contribute to the team and help them win basketball games. Now the third winner is going to be the Atlanta Hawks. Now the Atlanta Hawks, I only have them on here because they picked Jalen Johnson. Now Jalen Johnson, in my opinion, could potentially be one of the best players to come out of this draft. Now he fell a lot because he left Duke early, but he has more than enough talent to go in the top 10 of this draft. He's very solid on everything. He's not bad at anything, plays strong defense. He needs a little bit of help in the half-court sets, but he's still extremely athletic, can shoot the ball very well, can score in transition elitely, has elite athleticism, and is a very, very smart player. So he can for sure learn how to play in a half-court offense, and I think for sure, especially with how much transition game is in the NBA nowadays and how fast-paced it is, I think Jalen Johnson is going to be able to fit very, very well with this Atlanta Hawks team, and I think Trae Young is going to be loving him as he's going to be able to throw lobs to him. He's going to have someone to take pressure off of him, and I think for sure Jalen Johnson may be starting for this team at the end of the season. And now the next winner is going to be the Houston Rockets, and the reason I have the Houston Rockets is because they got Jalen Green, for one, who I think is a franchise player and could be the best player in this draft class. I love Jalen Green, and in my opinion, don't kill me for this, Detroit fans, I think Jalen Green is better than Cade Cunningham. Please do not assassinate me, and if I'm wrong, do not quote me. Please, I think they're very close to each other, but in my opinion, I think Jalen Green has a little bit more upside. But the reason I have them as a winner is because they are also able to get Josh Christopher, who could be a potential steal. He's extremely athletic, has all the tools to be a very solid player, and I think could be a very, very fun player to watch. And now, although I don't like Alperen Sengun, I could see him becoming a very, very off-brand Walmart Nikola Jokic. So nowhere near the actual Jokic, but Sengun could turn into that type of player. Not very fast, not very athletic, but a very smart big who can pass the ball, make a few inside shots, and just play very well. Now, he doesn't have the floor spacing Jokic provides, and he's nowhere near the passer Jokic is, but he's still a fairly smart center who can pass above average for the center position, but he still needs a lot of development to go through for him to be anything of value in the NBA, in my opinion. But the Rockets could be two absolute ballers in Jalen Green and Josh Christopher. And now with the Sacramento Kings, I have them also being a winner, as not a lot of people have them as a winner. Actually, a lot of people have them as a loser. But the reason I have them as a winner is because they got Davion Mitchell, who is one of my favorite prospects in the draft, and that's because of how good he was on defense and offense. Plus, he's an elite three-point shooter and can score from anywhere on the court. And I definitely think that the Kings could be a very, very good team now, because they could run a very interesting lineup that would be De'Aaron Fox, Davion Mitchell, and Tyrese Halliburton. Now, Tyrese Halliburton definitely has the length and size to run a small forward. Now, yes, he would be a smaller small forward, but he could still very much run the three position, and them three on the same team would be very good offensively, but De'Aaron Fox is no slouch defensively, and neither is Halliburton at all. So Davion Mitchell and them three would not be getting bullied on the other end of the floor. So they would be able to score and shoot at an elite level alongside defending at an elite level. So I do not think that the Sacramento Kings are losing at all. Now, a lot of people didn't have them winning last year when I did, and said they had Halliburton and they didn't like the pick because they already had Buddy Hield, and I loved the pick, and he almost got the Rookie of the Year out of it. So I think for sure the Kings got another very good player who's going to be able to come in and contribute very early for the Sacramento Kings team. And now for one of the last winners of this list, I have the Utah Jazz, and that's only because I think they got the biggest steal for value in the entire draft, as they got Jared Butler for the 40th overall pick. Now, yes, Jared Butler, I love Jared Butler, but I wasn't extremely high on him. Like, I thought he'd be a solid starter in the league one day and probably be a nice backup to come out. But the fact that they got him at the 40th overall pick is ridiculous. Like, that is so far back in the draft, and he fell so far that you just could not go wrong in picking him. If he's a bust, it doesn't matter. You picked him at 40. Who cares if he's a bust? But if he fulfills the potential that he does have, that 40th overall pick could turn into an extremely solid starting level shooting guard for a Utah Jazz team that badly needs another guard alongside Donovan Mitchell. So I think for sure the Jazz could have potentially got one of the better steals of the entire draft. And now for the last winner of this video, I have the Detroit Pistons, and that's because obviously one, they got their franchise guy in Cade Cunningham, but then another one that not many people are high on, and I saw some Detroit fans shitting on, was the pick of Luka Garza with the 52nd overall pick. Now, I actually kind of like Luka Garza. Not a lot of people do, but I wouldn't have liked him if this was a few years ago. Now that people like Nikola Jokic show that the slower but bigger and smarter that can spread the floor big man can work in today's NBA and be very, very effective, does show some promise for someone like Luka Garza and give some hope for Detroit Pistons fans that he could develop into a very nice player, because Luka Garza is exactly that. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be the next Nikola Jokic, because there's only one Jokic, but Luka Garza could definitely be a Walmart version of that, and maybe semi-close to him, because he is a similar built guy, kind of slower but very smart, very high basketball IQ, can pass the ball very good, and can also shoot the ball as a big man, and is very strong and big and be able to grab rebounds and do everything a normal big man does, but he can also conduct the offense with his passes and his shooting ability. So I think for sure Detroit could potentially got two extremely good high value players with their two picks, and obviously Cade Cunningham is probably a home run hit and probably gonna be their franchise player for at least the next 8 years to come, and I think Luka Garza could also develop into a very nice player. Now for the first loser of the video, I have the Memphis Grizzlies, and that's because the Grizzlies traded up to the 10th overall pick, 7 spots up from where they were at, traded away their best big man by far in Giannis Valanciunas, and took on 2 bad contracts just to move up 7 spots to pick a guy that was projected to go around the 17th overall pick in Zaire Williamson. And now Zaire Williamson, in my opinion, I don't even like him that much. He's a guy that can't shoot. I think he shot, what, 19% from the three-point line, and was also a 37% shooter from the field last year for a Stanford team that already wasn't very good. And for a big man that, not a big man, but for a forward that's known for slashing and being athletic, to only shoot 37% from the field is not a very good sign at all. And I don't think drafting off of pure athleticism in the top 10 is a very good idea, and I just don't see the Zaire Williams pick really helping much, and I don't think he is going to be that great of a player for the Grizzlies, and I just don't think he's going to be that good of a player in the NBA, because yes, he's a freak athlete, but let's be honest, everyone in the NBA is damn near a freak athlete, and only athleticism can only get you so far in the NBA, and I just don't see him being that great of a prospect for the Memphis Grizzlies, especially with how bad of a shooter he is. And I don't care how much you say there's nothing mechanically wrong with his shot. It could be the most pure looking shot I've ever seen. If it doesn't go in the hole, it doesn't matter. I just don't like him, and with him getting at the 10th overall pick, I just don't see that working out at all, and I think that makes the trade even worse for the Memphis Grizzlies. And then also they picked I think his name was like, I don't even know how to pronounce his name. I think it was Santi, and I just don't know much about him, but it's just from looking at him and the few times I watched him play, I wasn't very impressed. So I think they got 2 lackluster picks, and they traded a whole bunch for those 2 lackluster picks. And now the final loser, I have the obvious one, the Toronto Raptors, who fumbled the bag of all bags. Now, although I am not that high on Jalen Suggs, I definitely still had him as the 4th best player in this draft. I think it went Jalen Green, Cade Cunningham, Evan Mobley, kind of goes down a cliff, Jalen Suggs. Jalen Suggs, although not in the same tier as those first 3 guys, was still the 4th best player. And for a Toronto Raptors team that will most likely be losing their starting point guard to pass up on one of the best point guards in this draft class is an extreme misstep for them. And not only did they not draft the best point guard, they drafted a power forward when their best player on the roster is already a big man power forward in Pascal Siakam. Now, Pascal Siakam is great, don't get me wrong, very solid defensive minded guy, but when you compare him now with Scotty Barnes, that duo is not going to work. Scotty Barnes is a high motor Draymond Green type player who can't shoot right now, and he still needs to develop his offensive game a lot till it gets to an NBA level. You draft him on his athleticism, his motor, and his defensive potential, and hope his offensive game comes with it. That's why you draft Scotty Barnes. When that wouldn't be a terrible pick if you weren't losing your starting star point guard in Kyle Lowry and had the perfect replacement to go into the future with. Because I think with Jalen Suggs, you're still a playoff team or a playoff contender, because you still have now Jalen Suggs, Van Vliet, Pascal Siakam, Boucher, and other very solid young guys on that team. But now with Scotty Barnes, you don't have a legit guard combination with the shooting guard, point guard, because now you're probably going to have to run Van Vliet at your starting point guard, and now that has a shooting guard hole, and I just don't see this team being good offensively at all next year, and I am very disappointed that they did this, especially because you can't even run him at the 3 because you have OG Anunoby, who is a very solid player and I think is better than Scotty Barnes right now. So with the 4th overall pick, the Raptors selected a guy that will most likely be coming off of their bench who can't shoot the ball and needs a ton of work offensively for a team that no longer has a point guard to get him the ball. I just don't think the Raptors thought this one through, and I think it was a bad pick overall. And now another draft class that I don't think was a winner or a loser, and I'm kind of stuck on the fences, is the Oklahoma City Thunder. The reason I say that is because I don't see this class becoming a loser, but I can see it becoming just an kind of class, because the Thunder did get Trey Mann, who I love and I think will be a steal, and I think will be a great offensive player for any team, and will be very good for the Oklahoma City Thunder going into the future, especially if they trade Kemba Walker. But then another player is Josh Giddy. Now they picked him a little high for my liking, but I personally think Josh Giddy either has a chance to be a very good player or a complete bust. That's one of the players I just have no idea how he's going to turn out, because right now Josh Giddy is very unathletic, not fast, not strong, needs to add weight, and needs to improve his shooting, but is a very high IQ player, a 5 or 6'9" guard, very big guard, like Ben Simmons type build, and he kind of has a Ben Simmons type game. So if he can develop a shot and get faster, get quicker, and get stronger, he could definitely be a very good player in this league. But if he doesn't develop that, then he will be a bust. So that's why I don't know where to really put this Thunder class. That's why I don't have them as a winner, but they are a potential winner going into the future. So keep them in your back of your mind as well this coming up season. But unfortunately, guys, that's going to be it for this video. So I know this video was a little bit longer, and I'm sorry about that. But if you did watch the entire thing, comment below you're still here, and hit the like button and subscribe button. It would mean the absolute world to me. And all glory to God. Hope you have a blessed day, because you need to have a blessed day. So just have a blessed day. I said that wrong, but who cares? See you in the next video. Goodbye, boo. Blah, blah, blah.